Welcome back. Today I want to talk about something I've spoken often about, which is breathing through the body versus breathing through the brain, and I haven't quite clarified it. So to really understand this, we're going to take a look at healers and how they project energy through the body, how we can do that for ourselves for a little bit of aches and pains here in the body, how that helps us to put consciousness in any part of the body that we need to use it for, and how this affects OM Japa in the chakras and the understanding of not breathing through the brain. So, let's get into it. So this is really quite simple. You just imagine that there is energy in your body and you're going to project it through your body. You're going to push the energy and you're going to use your breath to push the energy. So there's energy in my hand already, and I'm going to push that energy with my breath out of my hand if I was going to heal somebody, right? So, but just to try it, I'm going to look at my hand, I'm going to breathe through my hand and imagine, and it's my imagination and my feeling. You don't have to see anything. There's nothing to see. It's just a feeling. I'm just imagining that I'm feeling energy moving, and you'll feel it. And I'm using the Ha breath, right? The wonderful, universal Ha breath. We see this in the victorious breath in India, and we see it in the Kahuna Ha breath. It's universal, it's beautiful, it's simple. I'm just going to breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the mouth. And just feel that you are pushing energy through the hand. You might feel a little bit of sensation in the hand. Perfect. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You're just pushing energy through that part of the body. And that's me pushing energy through my hand. And once you've tried one hand, try the other hand. And we're using breathing through the mouth so that we can really notice the Ha breath. But once you've noticed it enough and you have enough practice, you can do this without the exhale through the mouth. You can exhale through the nose and still push energy. Okay? So that's pushing energy through the hands. Very, very simple, right? Now what if I have an ache or pain? Let's say my shoulder hurts, right? Let's see right here. There's a little old injury here. So I'm going to go ahead and breathe through that. And suddenly, it's not so achy and painy. It feels a little bit better. Just breathing through it will cause that part of the body to feel a little bit better. And if it doesn't work the first time, you try it again and again and again. And it's cumulative. And so you'll notice an effect more and more. And what you're actually doing from a medical standpoint is you're putting your subconscious onto a particular part of the body that needs help, and you are allocating more resources to that part of the body. So you're actually directing the subconscious to take better care of a certain part of the body that needs more attention, and it works like magic. And if you read the book, The Pulsatile Self, you'll hear how that author, I forget his name at the moment, was doing this through his hips. He was breathing through his hips to relieve pain almost constantly for years, and his subconscious actually grew new micro veins throughout the area. And when he had a hip surgery eventually, it shocked the surgeon because he wasn't prepared for all of those micro veins, and they started bleeding out. He had to give him extra blood because of that. So a startling story, but it just shows us how the subconscious can be directed to allocate more resources to an area. Amazing, right? So it works wonderfully. You're allocating subconscious attention to particular parts of your body. When I am doing Om Japa, I'm doing something very, very similar. I'm doing a more subtle version of this, but I'm combining my breath with the Om Japa, the mental Om Japa in the chakras, right? So if we were to put things into a progression, we could say, first I'm going to do out loud Om Japa. That's step 1, okay? And then I'm going to do out loud Om Japa in one chakra. That would be step 2. Now I'm going to make it more subtle. I'm going to do a mental Om Japa in one chakra. And now I'm going to do a mental Om Japa in my chakra with breath. And now it's more powerful, isn't it? And then I'm going to make that breath more subtle. And so that's the progression, right? And we don't always know or learn the entire progression. Sometimes we just jump right into the middle, which is fine. But let's start right here, and let's combine it with breath, and let's just Om through the heart. Om. So that's some Om Japa in the heart, right? And I'm doing it with the breath because the breath is going as I Om through the chakra, right? And so now I'm going to do that Om mentally, but I'm going to push breath through the chakra at the same time. So now I'm pushing Om and breath through my chakra together. And the combination is magical. It's absolutely magical, and it's a form of therapy. You're doing a limbic exercise. You are clearing out the chakra. And what happens when you clear it? Well, its natural state is revealed, right? The natural state, the more silent state, the less loud and noisy state is revealed, the pure state. It's beautiful. And so all of these beautiful qualities might begin to manifest more easily and spontaneously. But what is more important, the silence will come and the bliss will come because of this work that I'm doing in my chakras. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up to the medulla. I stop at the medulla because this is a cosmology, you see. Here we have the war of Kurukshetra, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita. This is the meditative struggle. And from here up, it's a heaven. So the Pandavas walk into heaven. That's a different cosmology. And so the Kriya Yogi, through the oral tradition, Lahiri Mashaya says, do not breathe through the brain. All right? And a lot of people contact me. They say, well, you know, Forrest, so-and-so says it's okay to breathe through the brain. So-and-so does it all the time. I've done it a few times, and I don't think there's a problem with it. And I'm just telling you, the wisdom that has been gathered through the tradition that I teach for generations. I'm just handing that to you, right? And I believe it as well. But, you know, people tell me these things, and I'm like, well, maybe, you know, I'm overemphasizing this rule of do not breathe through the brain, right? So I'm thinking to myself, maybe I'm overemphasizing this. Maybe I should tone that back. And why don't I try it? Let me see if I have any problems because of it. So I have a Khechri Diksha from a very deep and wonderful yogi friend of mine. And in that Diksha, they breathe through the brain. Now, Lahiri Mashaya says, no, don't do that. The Khechri tradition says, yeah, go ahead, breathe through the brain. But it's that Khechri tradition is just for a very few people that can actually do everything in the Khechri. And so I started breathing through my brain. I breathed from the medulla up to the top of the head. You see, with the sound of Om. I kept breathing through the brain and breathing through the brain. And I didn't have any problems. And then I got sick. And because I was sick, I started fasting. And while I was fasting and while I was sick, fasting will put you closer to your spiritual experiences. It withdraws you from the world automatically, right? So I'm fasting, I'm a little bit sick, and I'm driving. And as I'm driving down the road, every time I move my eyes to scan, right, or to look left or look right, I start getting the experience of the third knot. And I'm driving, so it's not, oh, I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, this is why Lahiri Baba says don't breathe through the brain. Because every time I would turn, the whole world started to, I'd get just a little bit. It wasn't extremely bad, because I'd only been breathing through my brain for about a week. On and off, right? But it was starting to spin on me while I'm driving. And I didn't have any of those effects with the instructions from Lahiri Mashaya. And I was going into Samadhi, and I still didn't have those problems, you see? And so I immediately stopped breathing through my brain, and I said, thank you, Lahiri Mashaya, you were right, and this is me proving it again to myself. And like I always say, I can't control you, but I want to give you the benefit of the oral tradition, the wisdom that they have, and the warning that they give. We do not breathe from the medulla. So here's the medulla, right? How do you find the medulla? Make that tiny movement and feel the pinnacle of the cervical vertebrae going into the skull. And that's how you find the medulla. And it feels restful when you find it, right? It's beautiful. From that point down, we can breathe through the body at any time. But the insurance policy, one of the beautiful insurance policies from Lahiri Mashaya, he says, do not breathe through the brain. From here up, that's heaven. So when you get to that point, you have a roll-up of consciousness into the medulla. I'm in the freeze response. I'm in the tranquil breath. I'm in the roll-up of consciousness, right? What I call the three essentials. This is what meditation is really trying to give to us. That point when we're very, very withdrawn into the brain, into the medulla. When we reach that point, what do? We stop breathing, right? Because you're in the tranquil breath. There's no more breathing through the chakras to do at that point. And so you simply expand. And what do all the yogis show on the top of the head? Expansion. The lotus is expanding. So you can just feel expansion or imagine expansion. You don't have to see anything. You just feel it expanding, expanding, expanding. And now you're inducing the right brain, the right hippocampus. So I hope this gives you some ideas about breathing through the body versus breathing through the brain, and how we can breathe through the chakras. And you can go to your friend who has, oh my God, my shoulder is achy, or I have this ache in my back, or, go ahead and put your hands on them and breathe through your body. And see what happens. Or put your hands on yourself. Breathe through the hand. And heal yourself. It's a wonderful method. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a skill we should all have and keep in our chest of skills to pull out whenever we need it. So I hope you love this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you next time.